Hello and welcome to IRL here for F1 in Britain. Of course, round 4 here today as well. I am going to be your commentator, Kevin Harrison, today, and of course, I'm going to be the only one here as Tim was not able to commentate. I would normally race, but I can't twist my wrist injury, so I'm going to be on comms today. 12 drivers here today. So hopefully should be able to provide some good racing around the 18 corners that Britain has to offer. Of course, the best overtaking opportunities you would think, probably into Brooklands, also into Stowe as well, down the Hanger Straight. Certainly good opportunities for overtakes there. I think Paco Suarez is one of the first ones out. Is maybe Jared Fosbury up ahead of me? Is both of them on laps? Of course, the two Williams drivers, as Jared Fosbury makes his way through Woodkit, and now he's going to be approaching Copse. Of course, need to keep the speed up, make sure you don't invalidate on the exit though, and he does. So we're going to go on to Paco Suarez then, who's also going through. I'm sure his teammate now is going to give him some slipstream going down the Hanger Straight, as actually I think that was Jared Fosbury spinning around there, as it was going through Maggots and Beckett's there, but it continues on for Paco Suarez. Of course, purple in sector 2, given he's the first one to go through, and he's going to be approaching Stowe now, turn 15, and looks like a little bit late with the turning. Maybe could have hit the apex a little bit better, but now through the final few corners, Vale of turn 16, and then the final two flat out from here. Just want to go across the line, and we'll see what he's going to set on the mediums. Of course, 28.5, so the next person to cross the line should be a Red Bull, I think that was. Don't think they actually set a lap though, as Jared Fosbury goes into the pit lane. So that's Lewis Millam there going to the pits after invalidating, which makes either Ollie or Brandon, as I can, yeah, of course this is happening. So yeah, that's Brandon next across the line. Then he's going to come through the final few corners, of course braking just after the 100-meter board, and then going through the final two corners now, and he's going to cross the line. He's surely going to put himself provisional pole 27.2, of course, and Lewis Marshall goes second with a 27.6, so about 4 tenths between them, and there you go. Actually putting in a 26.9 in first person, of course, in the 26s, and of course the only person right now of this season to take a win off Matthew Alder, and of course he was leading the championship when we finished up with round 2, but last week Matthew Alder, of course, in Monza did his usual stuff and took the win there and retook the championship lead with it as well. So just going to try and find, it looks like Lordy's on a lap, he's starting a lap, so we'll try and keep tags on other people finishing laps anyway, as it looks like maybe an AlphaTauri is going to be finishing up, could actually be Matthew Alder. So I'm going to switch over for a second. Yeah, he's going to be going to the pit lane, so it is going to be Lordy then, as he comes through Brooklands, the left-hander, onto Luffield, then two corners where you can gain a lot of time. And now through, getting up on the curb on the exit, of course. And then through turn 8 and approaching Copse now. Small lift, but stays in 8th gear. I think some people might be dropping to 7th, especially in the race, but now we're going through Maggots and Beckett's, the kind of the S section, and then onto the Hanger Straight as he's going to open up the DRS flap. And now he's going to be approaching Stowe. It's not looking like it's going to be challenging the likes of Axie or anything, but surely his target will only... well, yeah, I didn't realise he's on the mediums, but he would be targeting Paco Suarez then, to at least beat him, maybe put himself in a 4th would be quite strong, and he's going to cross the line at 28.1, so yeah, he does beat Paco Suarez, but he's not going to go any higher than that, as Cameron Young now in the Aston Martin is going to be going through, and through Copse he goes. I don't think there was actually a lift there for Cameron Young, so obviously he's got the setup a little bit better on the mediums as well, which is interesting. But now going through Maggots and Beckett's, of course, it looks like someone was in the dirt, or the grass I should say, and a little bit of a correction there. He's actually going to be allowed to continue though, and he has set a purple sector 2, but he's going to back off anyway. and he's going to be going to the pit lane. Obviously, that didn't gain him time. On the mediums as well, which is interesting. If that was really a purple sector, could be looking good for the likes of Cameron Young then. As Matthew Alder back into the pit lane, so he has not been able to set his first lap, but onto another flying lap for Cameron Young, and I think Jared Fosbury is also on a lap as he spun there. Or no, that's not Jared Fosbury. I think that may be Paco Suarez then. Going around, yeah, it was Paco Suarez at the exit of Luffield, I should say, and there's Cameron Young going around himself. Through the first few corners he was going, and now onto the Wellington straight. But yeah, that's the end of his lap, very much so, as he goes round. He did actually get to set the previous time that he was going on though, and now Nino Romanello in the Alfa Romeo is on outlap, so we'll keep an eye out for him as Jared Fosbury gets slipstream from his Williams teammate Paco Suarez as they go through the hangar straight. And of course Jared Fosbury going through Stowe and now through Vale, and then the final two corners and across the line for Jared Fosbury. So where is this going to put him? He's on the softs as well, and it's going to be 8th place, so not too good of a lap at all. Wasn't even enough to beat his teammate on the mediums, so certainly mistakes you would assume in that lap anyway. As could he be continuing on? I'm not sure. Maybe not, I'm not sure. We'll see, I guess. As one person who is on a lap though, Lewis Wasman, of course my previous F2 teammate from last season, were, well actually no, from last season in F1, and then we were title contenders the season before, I should say. So, yeah, he's going to be coming through, finishing up Maggots and Beckett's, opening up the DRS, and down the hangar straight now through Stowe. And he's going to be finishing up now as he approaches Vale, braking just after the 100 meter board once again. And it looks like he took a little bit more of an angle to the penultimate corner there, and he's going to go through as this is actually him starting his lap. I didn't even realise. So we'll stay on board with him there as he goes through turns 1 and 2, flat out of course, Abbey and Farm, and then through turns 3 and 4. There's a little bit slidey on the rears as he goes through what is turn 5, I think. And again, you can see, I think surely he's going to abort that lap, as he has aborted the lap. So he's going to surely be going back to the pit lane. Matthew Alder is on a quick lap. He's currently purple in sector 1 as well, as he goes through Luffields and approaches turn 8 of Woodcote as well. Of course, flat out, not really much of a corner, but certainly a corner nonetheless. And now he's going to be going through Copse as Brandon Glover sets provisional pole position with 26.9, just edging out Axie for first place. Axie only a few hundredths of a second behind him, but Matthew Alder, I think we're going to be seeing a purple sector 2 as well as he opens up the DRS flap, and there you go, purple sector 2, a 1-2.5 between the first and second sectors combined, which obviously is good enough for purple in both. So we're probably going to see the provisional pole position time smashed by Matthew Alder now as he comes through. As actually there's Lewis round at the last few corners there, but through the final corner for Matthew Alder, and he is going to put it on provisional pole position. He's going to go almost a second quicker than Brandon Glover, so you can just see how good Matthew Alder is as he crosses the line. 1 lap and he's already a second clear of anyone, almost. Only 0.004 of a second separating him from actually doing that. It's Brandon Glover now. It looks like he's going to be going back to the pit lane. Lewis Millam is looking like he's going to do another lap. He was on a lap and invalidated it as he goes through, and he's going to be starting a new lap, so we'll go on board with him then, as of course hasn't set a time yet, so Really a good time to at least get a banker, and I don't think he's going to have enough time to set another time after this lap. So through he goes, and a little bit of a slide there. And a little bit of a lock up there as well as he goes through turn 4. And then down the Wellington Straight, of course, approaching Brooklands and Luffield, the left and right handers, turns 6 and 7, of course, and he's going to actually go straight on. He's going to abort the lap and let, looks like an Alpine through. Not an Alpine, actually. Oh, well, it was an Aston Martin. As round up on the curb for Cameron Young, as we just switched to him, he has got a lap time in, or at least a banker, but it's certainly not going to give him all too much hope, as of course maybe he's going to end up sticking with that time now. As round he went at the exit of Luffield, of course, right up on the curb, and again he's spinning round, so those tires definitely overheated by now, as it looks like or at least one of the Alpines is going out of the pit lane now. Or Alpines? Williams, why am I... Yeah, well, there was an Alpine out anyway. It was Lordy, of course, so he's going to be the next person to settle up, as surely Cameron Young is going to be going into the pit lane. So on their out laps now, Lordy and Paco Suarez, so they'll be the next two to set times, and I think that would be, yeah, that's Ollie Flavel coming out of the pit lane now for what would be his final time. Don't really know why people aren't waiting till the end, because this will be their final time. They may as well wait till the end, but guess they're just looking to get the lap in and be done with it. As Lordy just prepares for his lap. And now through the final few corners, as now he's going to be on it. He's going to be certainly using the ERS now as he crosses the line. Of course, his previous time was set on mediums. Probably would be better, in my opinion, to just keep that medium run. But he's certainly going on a softs, and he's pushing now. So through turns 3 and 4 now. And then a little kink of turn 5 to bring him onto the hanger straight, where he's going to open up the DRS. There's a little bit of traffic on the left hand side. That must be one of the Williams, I think. Of course, both of them out on track right now, so I can't really tell which is which. I would think that it's Jared waiting for Paco Suarez to give him some slipstream. But we continue on with Lordy, of course. This is going to go through the flat turn 8 of Woodcut, and then approach Cops of turn 9. And a small lift, you can see there. But staying in 8th gear, and now he's going to be going through Maggots and Beckett's. That will slingshot him onto the hanger straight, where he'll open up the DRS. This is going to be a McLaren of Lewis Wasman just up ahead, but I think he's also on a lap, it seems, according to the game right now. But I swear Lordy was out on track first, but we continue on anyway. So Lordy is going to go a bit wide, and he's going to invalidate his lap, so that's going to be the end of his qualifying, unless he can get out of the pits very quickly. But Lewis Wasman now is going to be going across the line, and well, no, it wasn't a time. I didn't think it should have been, but we'll go to Paco Suarez then, I guess. He's going to be next to set a time. He's on the softs right now. Previous lap was on the mediums. Could lock down probably about a tenth, but he's going to go on the softs anyway and set a 27.4 to put him P6, just behind Ollie Flavel on the mediums. Actually, Ollie quite a good position for the mediums right now, as Jared Fosbury now starts his lap time, as a Red Bull of Axie would be getting out of the way there, as he's going to be preparing to start his final flying lap. But we continue on with Jared Fosbury here as he goes through turn 5, flat out turn 5. Of course, he's got a little bit of traffic, it seems, or actually that could be his teammate. It looks like his teammate from, or at least in the distance, you can see. I think he's about to get some slipstream off his teammate as they go through Woodcut. And yep, there you go, that is Paco Suarez. He's going to be getting slipstream down towards Cops, so yep, he's going to go out of the way, and Jared Fosbury is going to continue. I think it probably would have been better to do that on the hanger straight, but I guess they communicated it, and then, well, that's where he's going to get his slipstream. It's through Maggots and Beckett's now. Got to keep the speed up. It's a slingshot. You wanted to hang it straight. The exit's very important, of course, as Matthew Walder, I think... No, actually, he wasn't. It's just him starting a lap, I guess. As we continue on with Jared Fosbury going through Stowe and then through the final few corners. As you can see, someone else just up ahead, I think, just about to start a lap there. As maybe Ollie Flavel, I'm not sure, or Brandon Glover, probably more likely. But Jared Fosbury is going to set a 27.7 and go 9th. I don't actually think he improved on his position there. But is that Matthew Walder, I should say, going through the final few corners? It is, as some people go into the pit lane. So across the line, is he going to improve? He is going to improve. 25.8 for Matthew Walder, so that's what everyone's going to have to beat. Sondre Sorhag puts his car into second place, a very strong second place from the Aston Martin driver. Nino Romanello is going to put his Alfa Romeo in third. Looks like Brandon Glover's finished, as Axie is still on his lap, so we never know what could happen with him. Lewis Marshall puts his Ferrari into P6. Lewis Wasman now is going to be going through Stowe in a few moments. He's going to be looking to improve in his position. His previous lap was on the softs. He's on the softs right now as well, so he's going to be looking at least probably for a top 5 as he goes through the final few corners. A little bit slidey as he goes through the final few corners, a little bit wide as well. Luckily for him, he doesn't invalidate, but he's going to spin, and that's going to be an invalidation in the end, so no improvement for him, as Jared Fosbury isn't on a lap time. So it is up to Axie now, as he is apparently I should say purple in sector 2 as he's going through Stowe now. So can he get anywhere close to Matthew Walder's 25.8 right now, which is again almost, or actually it is a second clear of anyone else? Can he get anywhere close to it as he goes through the final few corners? Can Axie do anything to take him off pole position? No. 26.4 for the Red Bull driver, and unfortunately for him, he can't get ahead. Of course, first in the championship, starts on pole position. Second in the championship, starts second. As it looks like everyone else is pretty much done. Brandon Glover's not on the lap anyway, and yeah, everyone is finished now. So we're just waiting for Jared Fosbury. As you can see, his car in the distance. And there you go. It was a very dark Williams garage, you can say. But there we have it then. Confirmation, of course, Matthew Walder taking pole position, 6 tenths clear of Axie in second. Of course, that's second in the championship as well. So if he can get a good start, maybe he could challenge for the title a little bit, but you never know. Sondre Sorg, of course, a very strong P3 for the Norwegian. Nino Romanello in 4th, Brandon Glover 5th, Lewis Marshall in 6th, Lewis Wasman putting his car into 7th, Ollie Flavel in 8th, Pecco Suarez 9th, while the two Williams actually occupying entirely the 5th row of the grid, 9th and 10th for them, both of them on the softs. Lordy in 11th on the mediums, Cameron Young in 12th, and then Lewis Millam in 13th, of course. The well, outside of the top 10, I can't even speak. We'll get a free choice of tyre, of course. Most likely we'll be starting on the mediums and going medium soft. I don't think there's any reason to be touching the hard tyre. And of course, that was Ollie Flavel in the Mercedes. I think he ended up 8th on the medium, so that's a very good starting position for him. And he may find himself fighting for higher positions by the end of this race, as long as he can keep up in the earlier stages. Of course, the slower tyre at the start of the Grand Prix. But we now just wait for everyone to get their strategies together, and then we'll get away with the formation lap. Actually, I need to use a tweet as well. If my phone would work, that would be great. Oh, come on, man. Copy, and then... drafts. And there we go. Tweet up. Just get everything up on the screen now. There we go. So Matthew Alder, an all too familiar position for him, leading the grid on the formation lap, and of course this is the 4th consecutive pole position for Matthew Alder. If I'm not mistaken, he has taken every pole so far this season, and that trend continues. As they form up, Matthew Alder of course has the outside for turn 1. If Axie can get any bit of a good start, he'll at least put himself side by side, and even through turn 3 as well, he'll still have the inside line. But we are formed up now, so it's 5 red lights for the British Grand Prix, and it's lights out and away we go. And it can't really tell. I think Matthew Alder's got quite the good start. Actually, he's going to have to do some defending as they go through turn 1. He's going to squeeze the Aston Martin out of Sondre Sorog there. Nino Manello is trying to get involved as well, but Matthew Alder leads the field away. The Red Bull has successfully defended the Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin going side by side as they go through turn 5 onto the... Oh, there's actually contact there between the two of them. Nino and Sondre going on to the Wellington Straight have come together, and they're both... well, they've both lost quite a few positions as Nino isn't actually showing up correctly right now. Matthew Alder continues to lead. Axie was able to fend both of them off anyway, as Ollie Flavel, I think, is losing some positions. The McLaren of Lewis Walsman has now gone round. He's down to 10th, even 11th now, as they go through Cops. Doesn't look like anything else is happening, anything too crazy. He's actually on the inside now. Cameron Young in the Aston Martin is looking to make a move on Pacosaurus. Pacosaurus doesn't make it too difficult. He seems to be running his own race anyways. Cameron Young goes through, and now Ollie Flavel is his next target, the two, both on the mediums of course, and he's going to be closing as they go down the Hangar Straight, but I don't think he's going to get close enough as they go through Stone out. It seems like Cameron Young does have quite a lot of pace. Of course, he started outside the top 10. He's made up quite a few places already, as it isn't Nino. I wish this would fix, but it isn't Nino leading. It is Matthew Alder ahead of Axie, who's still just about in the DRS range, but Matthew Alder has almost broken it though, so Axie's really going to have to pick up the pace if he wants to stick with Matthew Alder and try and close the gap in the championship as well, as Brandon Glover he's running 3rd place right now. Lewis Marshall in 4th, and Ollie Flavel is defending a little bit from Cameron Young as he was a few moments ago, but Cameron Young is much closer now. There's no DRS in activation yet. They're just using Slipstream and DRS. Cameron Young is looking on the outside of of Luffield, I think it is, or I can't quite remember. Brooklands, I should say, as on the inside there, Cameron Young is going to be able to make the move. It's going through Luffield, and on the exit, it is going to be Cameron Young ahead of Ollie Flavel, as finally Nino Romano's position updates, as he is not leading this race, obviously. As Paco Suarez now maybe is going to look for a move on Ollie Flavel, as Brandon and Paco Suarez, or sorry, not Brandon, I should say Cameron Young and Paco Suarez going quite wide at Stowe, both surely picking up a warning each. But now out of Maggots and Beckett's onto the hanger straight, it looks like Paco Suarez is looking for a move, as of course they're not on lap 3 yet, so still no DRS in activation just yet as they go through Stowe now. And the Mercedes is going to stay ahead for a little bit longer, but when that DRS gets activated, I think it might be a little bit of a different story. Matthew Alder now sets another fastest lap. Of course, still early days. He's probably going to set a few more of those in the earlier laps. Axie has been gapped by Matthew Alder, so he hasn't been able to stick in the DRS. And as well, behind Axie, Brandon Glover is also about a second and a half behind. And then Lewis Marshall the same. So the top four kind of spacing themselves out. Cameron Young, though, certainly isn't messing around, though. He's certainly trying to get some positions, as of course he did start out at the top 10. He started, I think, 12th, if I remember correctly. Already up to 5th on the medium, so he's really put himself in a good position to potentially fight for the win of this race by the end of it, as of course he'll be on the softs later on, and for the next few laps probably the mediums and softs will be at least equal, as those softs may be losing a little bit of speed. The mediums of course go for quite a long time around here, as the Ferrari goes a little bit wide. Lewis Marshall and Cameron Young is able to close up a little bit more as they go through Maggots and Beckett's. You can see the grip difference in Cameron Young's car, and you can see how much he's gaining there under braking as well. As out onto the hanger straight, Cameron Young is going to be closing as they approach Stowe, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough, or actually maybe it will be, as Cameron Young is looking down the inside of the Ferrari side by side between the two of them. At the Aston Martin looks like still side by side, the Ferrari still keeping a nose in there at least, as on the inside now for the final few corners, still side by side. Cameron Young still trying to make this move. He's trying to force him to give the position up, and it looks like he's just about done that now. As DRS in activation, though, Cameron Young might have to be doing some defending as they go through turn 1, and the Ferrari is going to stick behind, but for how much longer, though, as they go through turns 4 and turns 5. The exit of turn 5 is going to be crucial for the Ferrari. Of course, those softs, if they have whatever grip they have, he's going to have to use all of it, and he opens up the DRS flap, but I don't think it's enough. Cameron Young, clearly those mediums working a lot better for him, and he's going to be able to continue to push forward and chase down the top 3. The podium places, Brandon Glover would be his next target then, as Lewis Millam, it seems, has gone down the inside of Jared Fosbury. A little bit of a fight between them two, as it seems they're lagging a little bit as well, for me at least. But Lewis Millam does go through for 8th place. As Cameron Young still hasn't been able to gap the guys behind, as of course he did have a pace advantage. He still does certainly have a pace advantage, as now 7/10, so probably give him another lap and he should be able to break the DRS from behind, and then we would be seeing maybe Ollie Flavel attempt an overtake on the Ferrari, as of course those mediums working very well for Cameron Young. Surely you'd think for Ollie Flavel they should be working at least at a similar level. As you can see, the Mercedes, it does kind of have a good bit more grip as they go through the final few corners, as Sondre Sorog picks up a 3-second time penalty, as he's just finishing up the lap. But of course in last place, kind of fighting with Nino Ranello, it seems. Only 6/10 between those two, so maybe going to be a little bit heated after the lap 1 incident that they had. As you can see there, yeah, Cameron Young has, well, for a moment anyway, did gap him by over a second. So you can see that certainly the pace advantage is in Cameron's favour. And on the flip side, he's also chasing down Brandon Glover as well, almost under 2 seconds, that gap, as he's been bringing down bit by bit the last few laps. As you can see, they're 1.9 now, the gap between those two. And it'll only be getting smaller. It's actually now settling into a bit of a comfortable P2. 1.8 seconds now the gap behind him. As actually now Ollie Flavel looked at a move. It looks like Cameron Young did break the DRS in the end, and I did say that once the DRS is broken it'll be a little bit easier for Ollie Flavel to make a move, and he did there as he goes through at the at Stowe corner, and now through for 5th place. So 2 medium runners now running 4th and 5th in the top 5. So certainly watch out for them later on in the race, certainly. As maybe Paco Suarez could be next to make a move on Lewis Marshall. It depends on the pace difference, of course. They haven't really been running like this yet. They are running, well, like one ahead of the other now, as both of them open up DRS, and you can see Ollie Flavel certainly has a pace advantage as he's already gapping them by quite a bit. Just before they went down the Wellington Straight. As I go through Maggots and Beckett's, Paco Suarez still trying to close the gap to the Ferrari, and it looks like he's doing it. As he's keeping him honest, at least. He's closing on the Ferrari as well. You can see bit by bit, but I don't think it's quite going to be enough as they go through Stowe. As you can see how close Paco Suarez is now. He might actually look for a move in turn 15. He's looking down the inside. He's going to dive it down the inside of Lewis Marshall and up ahead and into 6th place. Paco Suarez is now. But can Lewis Marshall now fight back maybe? Still, you can tell Paco Suarez using a little bit of ERS as they approach turn 1, as Lewis Marshall still trying to keep him honest, as this will allow Ollie Flavel to get away a little bit and try and gap them by the second that he needs to get a bit more comfortable in that P5. As you can see, Paco Suarez still trying to keep ahead of him. Lewis Marshall, I think, is a little bit too far off. Maybe he just doesn't have the pace right now at this stage in the race. As we'll see if there's any other fights. There is actually another fight, as Nino Ranello making a move on Jared Fosbury here, as I think Brandon Glover may have spun a few moments ago. He has spun at the exit of Luffield, and he's down to 8th place, as Nino Ranello at the same time making a move on Jared Fosbury as they go into Brooklands. So Nino up to 8th. Brandon Glover though down to 9th place, and that allows now Cameron Young to be promoted up into the podium places, and he can start maybe chasing down Axie now, who with the gap even to Matthew Alder potentially, if he can start gapping them now, because I mean the softs really should be kind of going off, or at least losing their pace advantage that they would have, as Sondre gets another 3-second penalty, as I think, yeah, Lordy just going through on Jared Fosbury. Doesn't seem like Jared fought it all too much. No wing damage though, so yeah, just genuine, as Sondre Sorg now into the pits, a little bit early of a stop. Would assume he'll still go on to mediums, or at least try the mediums. Hards potentially, but yeah, I'm not really sure. Haven't done this track on this game yet. As on go the mediums, yeah. As Ollie, Paco and Lewis still following in this train for 5th place, a fight for, well actually no, it was 5th place, it's now 4th place I should say, as 2.5 seconds now separate Ollie and Cameron Young, of course. Ollie's still trying to gap the people behind of 8/10 that he's been able to pull on them, but he's still just not able to get out of the DRS range, which is going to be crucial for him if he wants the strategy to work, because he needs to be getting away from them when he's on the mediums right now, when the softs start going off, and then later on when he's on the softs he can make the moves, and he'll be better better situated on the track. It's Brandon. Oh, is that actually a pit for Lewis Marshall? It is. So in goes the Ferrari. Given Sondre just went onto the mediums, you would expect this to also be a stop for mediums. Nino and Jared also into the pit lane. As you can see, ooh, this might actually be tight between Nino and Jared here, as Nino is going to stay ahead though. As they leave the pits, Lewis Marshall 10 seconds up the road, so really they're not in the same fight. As I think, or I would guess, that Brandon has made a move on Lewis middle, I think, but I'm not sure. I'm fairly sure he was falling behind him. But looks like Lewis Millen isn't having any of it regardless, though. He's closing on the Mercedes. DRS flap open, of course, as well, as he seems to have taken that a little bit slow. But into the pits now for the Mercedes, and surely as well onto the medium tyre. Matthew Walder is going to stay out on the softs, which is an interesting choice, but of course he does have that much of a gap for second. He can probably stay out for another 2-3 laps and still remain in the lead and not really have any worries. So Cameron Young now 9-second gap to Matthew Walder. He really does need to be bringing this gap down, especially now that people are starting to pit and Matthew Walder hasn't yet. It would make you think that his tyres are very much not anywhere near their peak, you can say. As into the pits, well, yeah, still for Brandon Glover, he's still on pit lane, of course. It's actually, is that side by side? No, it's not. Lewis Marshall spun, it seems, in turn 2 somehow. Or maybe going through turn 1, spun on the curb. I would say that's probably the most likely thing that would have happened. On the hards as well for Lewis Marshall and Jared Fosbury. People pitting before them going onto the mediums, so it's interesting choices here. As Lewis Millen gets a 3-second time penalty. As he's... Wait, where's... Oh yeah, Brandon pit, that's why. So that won't help him in this fight against Brandon Glover. You would be expecting him in now, though. He's not actually going to go into the pit lane. Matthew Walder also is going to be staying out. And of course, Cameron Young and Ollie Favell, one of the few, Lordy as well, on the mediums. Still on the mediums, yet to make their pit stops. As they'll make their pit stops probably around lap 15, 16, you would expect. So quite a few more laps to go for them, but for someone like Matthew Walder, I don't really see why he wouldn't be pitting. Unless maybe he's looking to lead every lap. I don't know. As Matthew gets a 3-second time penalty. Probably won't be affecting him all too much. But a 3-second pen for Matthew, of course, not what he needs when he's leading the race. Probably would be nicer for him to just relax and not get penalties. And surely with the gap he has, he doesn't really need to push all that much. So no fights really happening at all. Maybe Sondre and Nino, I should say. Jared Fosbury a little bit off that train. But Nino and Sondre seems fairly close to each other, so they're going to be, as actually Matthew Walder now into the pits, but Nino going through Maggots and Beckett's maybe at the exit, if he can gain a little bit, he could put himself at least close to Sondre Sora, because they both go very wide at the exit of Cops. Maybe they're exploiting something, I'm not sure. As I did see other people do it earlier as well, but right up the back of Sondre Sorg now Nino Romanello is he's going to be in the slipstream. He's going to activate the DRS. He's going to be using ERS as well on the inside, and it looks like a fairly simple move. I don't think there's going to be much fighting there as he just goes through in the slipstream and DRS. That was enough to make the move. And up into the points for Nino as well. As on the inside, Matthew Walder making up a place on Lordy after his pit stop, of course. And Matthew Walder 17 seconds separates himself and Cameron Young, but I think it's probably like a 30-second stop that yeah, you kind of have to sit through on this track. So yeah, won't really be all that much of a worry for him. So then Cameron Young, I would expect, would come out around Axie. Maybe a little bit off him, maybe a few seconds. That's what I'd be thinking. As Nino gets a 3-second time penalty. So Sondre will be happy seeing that. 6 seconds to 9 seconds between those two. As Lewis Millam still has not pit, I've just noticed. Maybe he's just looking for a safety car, maybe he thinks he can't really get anything out of this race, so he may as well stay out and see what happens. Which, fair enough I guess, but he's certainly going to be losing a lot of time by staying out in these softs this long, given everyone else is pit now. There's yellow flags, that's in Brooklands more or less. Don't really know who that was for. It's Matthew Walder, a little bit of a counter steer moment there out of Cops. So certainly on edge for Matthew there. And the gap between himself and Axie now, I would say about 6 seconds. So Matthew Walder of course does have that penalty. And if I remember, well no, it wasn't actually, Axie took it on track in France because of Matthew's mistakes. So yeah, this time if Matthew maybe got another penalty, Axie could put himself in the running if he didn't get any penalties of his own. But just hypothetical speaking there really. And of course he does have to clear Lordy as well, Axie does. Oh, and here's actually a fight. Nino Romanello has caught Lewis Marshall, of course it's mediums versus the hards, and surely this is going to be a fairly simple move for the Welshman as well. As they go onto the Wellington straight, he's going to open up DRS, he's going to use the ERS as well, he's going to look to the inside for Brooklands, and he's going to be able to make that move pretty much before the corner, and through he goes fairly simply. As you can see, Sondre Sorog in the background as well, maybe looking for a move in a few moments as well, as of course that's also a mediums versus hards battle that would be in the DRS range as well for Sondre, so we should be able to get into the points in a few moments, but maybe at the end of the race those hards could come back into play, as Matthew Walder sets another fastest lap of the race, so he's looking to take pole, the fastest lap and the win. as the race again kind of just dies down. But here we go, the Brandon Glover in the slipstream, DRS as well on Pacosaurus. Pacosaurus is going to defend to the inside, Brandon Glover is going to stay on the outside, and he's going to be able to make the move. Doesn't look like Pacosaurus is really going to be holding up all that much in the end, as he didn't really try to fight it all too much either. So Brandon Glover now goes through, and Lordy as actually goes through, of course. It looks like Lordy's made a mistake in cops, and he's gone around into the gravel. Luckily for him, no damage as I can see there. Maybe a bit of gravel on the tires. Certainly the tires maybe a little bit overheated, but lucky to be able to continue with well, minimal consequences, or as little consequences as he can get in the circumstances of spinning as Ollie and Lewis Millam now finally into the pit lane. Lewis Millam, of course, started on the soft, so it's been a very long time for him to not pit. But he is still sticking fairly well with Ollie Flavel. And of course on the mediums now, fresh mediums compared to everyone else's, could be as actually side by side with the two Mercs now. As on the inside, of course, Ollie Flavel will want to get through. Looks like Brandon Glover wants to get through as well, so no team orders for Mercedes. Is going onto the Wellington straight. He's going to be opening up the DRS flap as well. He's going to be using ERS as well, but surely Ollie Flavel is going to be much faster as he's closing Brandon Glover. He still wants this movie, very much wants to get past his Mercedes teammate as they go through Luffield now. Will he be using ERS again, maybe? As in the background there, Paco Suarez will certainly get involved in whatever fights they get involved in ahead, but the two Mercs will have to keep it clean if they do end up fighting, as I think finally Ollie Flavel's tires are going to kick in, and he's going to find himself pulling quite a lot away from the rest as he settles into what is fourth place at the moment. And into the pit lane for Cameron Young. Matthew Walder is going to go through, but actually I'm not too sure about Axie. It could be actually fairly close between Cameron Young, unless it's a lot. Yeah, it's a very long pit lane, never mind. As Cameron Young's going to settle into a P3 then. But on the softs, he's certainly going to be closing down the guys ahead of him. 15 seconds to Matthew Walder, so I don't think there's really any realistic chance that he catches him, but Axie is certainly within range, only 6 seconds up the road. As now I think Ollie's just going to be dragging his teammate along with him, as Paco Suarez, well, I mean, I would say the two Mercs would try and gap Paco Suarez, get out of DRS, and then just hold station, with Ollie kind of going into the distance, and after that probably. Because I don't think Ollie's going to be getting much more than a fourth today. It's just the last few pit stops. Jared Fosbury and Lewis Marshall going on to the softs. As Brandon Glover's still sticking with his teammate, and they have actually gapped Paco Suarez now over a second, so Paco won't be getting any DRS unless he can make the next few corners very, well, to make the next few corners count, I should say, as they go through the first sector. Just over a second, so it doesn't look like. We'll see if he's able to open up the DRS slot, but I think it is just about too much as he goes across, and yep, no DRS for Paco Suarez. 1.5 seconds now separate them, and Brandon Glover is going to be sticking with his teammates, so maybe a bit of team strategy. Maybe Brandon Glover is just using a lot of ERS, but he's not though, because he has 65%, so I guess it is maybe a bit of just a team strategy to gap Paco and then go from there. It's now 4th and 5th for for the Mercedes outfit, so solid points they're going to be bringing home today, as Paco Suarez as well in the background going through cops goes a little bit wide. As Lewis Millen closes a little bit more on the Spaniard. Would be interesting though if Brandon was able to make a move, or at least he was close enough to make a move on Ollie Flavel. Would he do it? Because of course they are teammates, and of course Ollie Flavel on the softs, so you'd think surely they'd just continue like this to the end. Maybe Ollie Flavel isn't using too much ERS either, as yeah, 68%, so I think that Brandon's really just trying to stick with him and just go like this, but it would be interesting if by the end that they were just a comfortable 4th and 5th, that if they would fight with each other or not. As really unfortunate, you can say, for Sondre. Put his car in a very strong P3, but an incident with Nino, of course, in lap 1 basically ruined his race from the very start. As of course he's just trundling around in 9th. Gonna pick up a few points, but certainly could have been better for him. And I would think that that incident would end up being reported as well. As Nino gets another 3 seconds, so does that mean... Oh no, it doesn't. Somebody got another one since... As still these two Mercedes continue to hold station. Whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. But it looks fairly intentional, as it seems like Paco Suarez maybe... I mean, I know Paco Suarez is maybe 2.5 seconds ahead of Lewis Millen. Maybe Lewis did just close the gap, I'm not sure, but... Lewis Millen obviously making a move on him now. As Cameron Young picking up a penalty, or was that a few? No, it was just the one, okay. And you can see 2nd place as well, but I don't think he's going to be able to close the gap and pull a 3-second gap at the same time. So I'll check that. I mean, not already doing. Yeah, it really does. Just an amazing race. Everyone nice and spaced out, just what you want. So Lewis Millen really breaking the toe. He really doesn't want Paco Suarez to be gaining anything more than he can. And breaking the toe is one thing that he's going to do to try and keep ahead of Paco Suarez, as of course he did get ahead of him a lap ago. Both of them with penalties, so who has more penalties? And Lewis with 8, Paco with 6. So maybe that's a 5-second getting removed for Lewis, I don't know. If it was speeding in the pit lane, then obviously not, but guess we'll see about that. The two Mercedes continue to run 4th and 5th, not getting in each other's way. Neither of them with penalties either. So they're just holding station in 4th and 5th, and they're just going to continue on, as now Cameron Young has finally caught Axie for 2nd place. So at least we'll be seeing a fight for 2nd place, as of course softs versus mediums. The softs still very much young, only 4 laps old. That's through Brooklands and then Luffield, and you can see the grip difference. He is just edging ever closer to the back of that Red Bull. Wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing a move on the Red Bull sometime soon. As through Maggots and Beckett's, surely we'll be seeing a difference, and through the exit as well. I think we'll be seeing him at least get close to the gearbox of the Red Bull. We'll see here now, as he should have DRS as he went through Maggots and Beckett's. You can see him very much closing as they approach Stowe as well. And through Stowe, as Matthew Walder sets another fastest lap of the race. This laid in 10 laps old mediums, it really just doesn't make a difference to him. As you can see, Cameron Young now really closing on the Red Bull. So could be seeing at least a side-by-side on this lap. We'll see how long Axie can hold out, as another 3-second penalty for Sondre Sorg. So it looks like there's no real chance of him beating Nino anymore. So it looks like 9th best for him. But Cameron Young still... Oh, that's a horrible angle. Cameron Young still tries to push on and try and make this move, as onto the Wellington straight now. He's going to open up the DRS flap and try and get ever closer. 23 of 26, so he does have laps to make this move. As Nino Romano has retired from this race, Sondre Sorg is going to go through, and a safety car, a very late safety car. And of course, Nicola, you were saying this race seemed very interesting. It's certainly interesting now, because of a very late safety car. 23 out of 26 will only get like a lap of racing. And I think we're going to be seeing pretty much everyone into the pit lane, and this actually could allow Axie to take a win now, because Matthew Walder has that 3-second penalty. It wouldn't necessarily mean that Axie would retake the lead, unfortunately, because he would gain on Matthew Walder by... well, with the pole position and current fastest lap as well, it would be 4 points actually that he would gain on Matthew. So not all too much in the grand scheme of things, but Matthew Walder, of course, into the pit lane, and we're going to be seeing Axie staying out. Now that is interesting. Matthew Walder obviously is going to get passed by Cameron Young and Axie now. That is very interesting. Obviously, if Matthew Walder didn't pit, then everyone else would, and they'd be challenging him, so he kind of had to pit. He re-emerges in 3rd place, so not the worst thing that could have happened. But Axie, very, very interesting. Staying out now, so you get the Aston Martin safety car. Very nice looking Aston Martin safety car there. But yeah, Axie staying out on the mediums. Obviously it's only going to be like a lap of racing, so he's obviously looking at the fact that he probably won't lose 3 seconds to well, let me see here. Yeah, both of them a few seconds behind him. So he's thinking that it's very unlikely that he loses 3 seconds in the time that will be left for racing. So if he stays out, for his sake, maybe it's more likely that he takes the win, because if you think that he pit, he probably would have been out behind the likes of Ollie Flavel, maybe Lewis Millam as well, who's emerged in 5th place, also on the mediums. Brendan Glover took the opportunity to pit onto the softs, so he's going to be most likely behind his teammate by the end of the last lap. But Axie put himself in a very good position not pitting. It's just really the case of if he can defend, because he will have to defend. Cameron Young, of course, on the softs, and now lap 24, already the safety car is going to be in this lap, so it's going to be 2 laps of racing. It's up to Axie when he wants to go, where and when he wants to go. Really, you can see the safety car in the distance, it's going to be going into the pit lane. So Axie now, it's all up to him, and of course there's no overtaking until the start-finish line. And Cameron Young is going to be really anxious to get ahead of him in the last 2 laps of racing, and it looks like Axie has gone now. So Cameron Young right up the back of him. Matthew Walder also right at the back of Cameron Young, already trying to make a move. Is actually a little bit of a mistake there. It seems that Matthew Walder's tire may be connected with Cameron Young's rear, but still they go through. Cameron Young is going to remain ahead of Matthew Walder, and Axie is going to remain the leader of this race, as Cameron Young may be looking a little bit down the inside, as still Matthew Walder trying to make a move on Cameron Young, the Aston Martin. Of course, this is for second place, but Cameron Young now having a horrible camera angle, my god. Yeah, there you go, Matthew Walder on the inside, side by side between the two, but Matthew Walder is going to make a fairly easy, very demanding overtake there, as he goes through and claims P2, and now it's really him versus Axie. And of course Matthew Walder does need to pull a 3-second gap unless Axie gets a penalty of his own within the last 2 laps, a lap and a half really that's left now. Is going through Maggots and Beckett's, you're going to see how much more grip Matthew Walder has, and down the hanger straight I think we would be expecting an overtake now, as you can see how much more grip, how much more turning he has. And at the back of him now, no DRS in activation. Axie's going to be using his ERS side by side between the two. Matthew Walder's going to look to the inside. Axie stays on the outside, and Matthew Walder's going to go through for the lead of this race. But that doesn't necessarily mean the win of this race yet, because Axie still doesn't have a penalty. Matthew Walder, of course, has a 3-second penalty, and he has to gap Axie by quite a bit, as he's going to be hoping now that Cameron Young can get past the Red Bull to help out Matthew Walder. But of course, it's not as easy as just get past the car in front of you. As of course you do need a little bit of thing. As he's looking down the inside again, Cameron Young looking at that move, as the Red Bull is going to fend off once again. Still Matthew Walder, of course, he has actually gapped the DRS. It doesn't look like the Red Bull was able to open up the DRS flap, as a yellow flag in sector 2. That's for the Ferrari of Lewis Marshall, who's still going round. And 1.2 seconds now between Axie and Matthew Walder, and he's going to be able to gain a lot in Maggots and Beckett's, and indeed Copse as well, and Stowe, all the corners really he's going to be gaining, because he's got so much more turning. 1.2 seconds now separates first and second. Cameron Young as well is going to be looking at a move on the Red Bull. Doesn't necessarily need to make it, but I mean at the end of the day he's going to be looking at it, as Axie is going to be going off the track. That surely spells the end, as actually maybe an incident, I should say, between the Red Bull and the Aston Martin there, as Axie has lost the win now, and just outside the range that all he needs to be. He's just outside 3 seconds. So Matthew Walder in the end is going to take the win. He's going to be across the line right now, and he is going to take the win of this race. Also extend his fastest lap, make it even faster. Ollie Fevel's going to take a P2. Axie, of course, in a P3 at the end, 7/10 away from what could have been a win for the Red Bull driver. Lewis Millam is going to take 4th, Paco Suarez in 5th. Sandro Sorg is going to end up taking 6th in the end. So yeah, as Cameron Young doesn't get a 20-second time penalty. It says it, but that's not the case. Lewis Marshall also getting a 20-second penalty, but that's again just not true. So they'll both be removed after the race. That's just ridiculous. As Jared Fosbury, it seems he's been disqualified. As Lewis Millam gets driver of the day. And of course the top step for Matthew Walder. Very familiar position for him to be in. Ollie Flavel takes a very strong P2 in the end, and Axie, of course, P3. Matthew Alder, of course, his home race as well, winning his home race, so that must make it feel all that better, all that bit better. So there you have it then. Confirmation. Matthew Alder, of course, is your winner today, ahead of Ollie Flevel and Axie in third. Lewis Millam is going to take fourth, Pekka Suarez in fifth, and Sander Sorog is going to take sixth. Brandon Glover seventh. I'm going to say that it's Cameron in eighth, and then Lordy ninth, Lewis Marshall in 10th. Nino, of course, DNFing, same with Lewis Osman, and a disqualification right at the end for Jared Fosbury. So that has been IRL F1 then, today, of course, at Britain. I've been your commentator, Kevin Harrison. I hope you enjoyed. I won't be doing interviews today because I do kind of have to go. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. And next week, I will not be here. I should be racing by next week. You should be seeing Tim back on comms. So yeah, that has been it from me. And hopefully you join us next week. Goodbye.